Hello, I'm Dahl Russell. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my pre-concert lectures originally presented in 2017 for the Mid-Atlantic Symphony Orchestra. It was the title work of the program Autumn Legends, the music of William Alwyn, who lived from 1905 to 1985. As usual, there will be a link to a performance of the work within this video at the end, so you can go right from the pre-concert lecture into listening to the piece of music. William Alwyn is a composer whose music you probably know, but you don't know that you've heard it. The simple reason for this is the amount of film music that he wrote. Both he and Benjamin Britten broke new ground composing for documentaries. Alwyn composed scores for over 200 films, the majority being documentaries. Of course, always better known, 74 of these were feature films from 1941 to 1963. He worked with big-name international directors like Carol Reed, Anthony Asquith, and David Lean, and with smaller names, and many of these directors worked with him on many films, which is always a mark of professional respect. British film is not always well known over here in the States, but some cross over the pond. Some of the better known titles that Alwyn composed music for were They Flew Alone, The Rake's Progress, The Winslow Boy, Night Without Stars, Lady Godiva Rides Again, The Crimson Pirate, Svengali, Carve Her Name with Pride, A Night to Remember, The Professionals, Swiss Family Robinson, and The Running Man. What is apparent from the titles alone is the great variety of these films for which he composed: war films, period drama, nostalgia, comedy, pirate adventure, western, family adventure, and political thriller. And while he was composing for these films, he also wrote 4 operas, one of them Miss Julie, based on the play by August Strindberg, 5 symphonies, several concerti, and string quartets. His oratorio, a setting of The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake, was completed in 1936. Clearly, the division in England between film score composing and fine art composing was much less severe than the division between them here in the States. More recently, you may also know his music because Alwyn's concerto for harp and string orchestra, Lyra Angelica, was popularized when the American figure skater Michelle Kwan performed it at the 1998 Winter Olympics. So chances are you have heard his music without realizing it. William Alwyn was born William Alwyn Smith in 1905. He was a promising student in both music and art and began to learn to play the piccolo. At the age of 15, he entered the Royal Academy of Music in London, where he studied flute and composition. Alwyn served as professor of composition at the Royal Academy of Music from age 21 in 1926 until 1955. He was recognized as a virtuoso flautist and held a position with the London Symphony Orchestra. In addition to being a musician, Alwyn was a recognized poet and artist. He helped found and led many institutional music groups. In a position that was arguably the most influential on the public taste, for many years he was one of the panel engaged by the BBC to read new scores to help assess whether the works should be performed and broadcast. So even though he may be a new composer to you, that should all be reassuring. But of course, he was part of a music conservatory where music was increasingly venturing into strange territory. Not surprisingly, he was at home with that too. Alwyn relished dissonance and devised his own alternative to 12-tone serialism that he used in his Third Symphony, which was premiered by Sir Thomas Beecham. But his best-known pieces are technically considered melodic, and because of that, these pieces were often regarded as out of date in the relentlessly avant-garde world of contemporary music at the time when they were published. Consequently, they were largely ignored outside of England at the time. And for over 30 years, his concert works were largely ignored. With the rebirth of interest in 20th century English music in the 1980s, however, Alwyn's work has gradually been finding a wider audience. Of course, the work of film composers has concurrently gained acceptance and interest, leading to more exploration of their concert works. His strong desire to always be creative was such that when not composing music, he spent his time painting and writing. Amongst his writings is a short autobiography entitled Winged Chariot, some poetry and prose, and perhaps most fascinating of all, a diary that he kept between September 1955 and August 1956 whilst composing his Third Symphony. It documents his daily routine, composing for the cinema and concert hall. In 1978, Alwyn was knighted. He died in 1985. The piece we will listen to today, Autumn Legends, is often mentioned as one of his top 3 best-known works. Now, don't expect a hummable tune. Much like film score music, his best-known works have a very extended line. If you're a fan of Wagner, this is the kind of melody that Alwyn has. Frankly, I would say his pieces are more an extended mood, and you'll hear this immediately in Autumn Legends. In Jane Austen's Persuasion, right after rhapsodic verses about autumn are recited that are meaningful both to the view and to the emotional currents of the story, a really profound moment, one of the dullard characters pipes up, "Why do all these poet fellows write about autumn?" And of course, we know why. The evocative season of dying, the foreboding chill in the air, contrasted with the beautiful colors of nature. This is all in the mood of Autumn Legends. As some of you know, I have a touring program, a musical presentation about Edgar Allan Poe, and this piece of music is completely suited to Halloween and the works of Poe. If you think about your favorite story by Poe during this piece, you'll see how the mood is exactly on point. I'm Cara Dahl Russell. Enjoy Autumn Legends by William Alwyn.